We've never seen anything like this before. But what exactly did European visitors discover in America that left them repeating those words? Was it the scale, the freedom, or the ordinary comforts they had been taught to overlook? They arrived expecting exaggeration and excess, then found a country whose smallest details quietly challenged everything they thought they knew. The real shock was not that America felt different, but that leaving suddenly felt like giving something up. America changed everything. The first shock was not a stadium, a skyline, or a giant American flag rippling above a packed fan zone. It was the awkward realization that the country they had been warned about felt nothing like the country standing in front of them. By the time World Cup visitors began moving through New York, Dallas, Miami, Los Angeles, and other American cities, many had already absorbed the usual picture: chaos, hostility, cold cities, and a society too divided to function. Then real life began quietly ruining that script. Strangers gave directions without acting inconvenienced. Restaurant workers refilled drinks before anyone asked. Volunteers smiled through crowds that would test the patience of a saint. Families invited foreign fans into conversations as naturally as if they had been sitting together for years.
America is the best place in the world, and I don't care what anybody says. If you want to be successful or you have any ambition or dreams, this is the best place in the world. You're not going to go to Europe. Europe's You're not going to go to Australia. It's full of lazy So where are you going to go? Right here to America, the land of opportunity, where people hustle, where people work hard. And you know what? The government actually allows you to fulfill your dreams. Unlike other places where they tax the out of you, this place helps you achieve your dream.
Here is one of my favourite things about America, and it's absolutely incredible. We do not have this in the UK. So in America, every single gas station has a toilet, has a restroom. That is incredible. There's always a toilet available. In the UK, that is not a thing. In a single gas station, there is not a single toilet. In America, I love you. I love it. It's my favourite thing.
That contrast matters because daily life across Europe often follows a different social rhythm. In Paris, personal space is respected with almost military precision. In Berlin, efficiency is appreciated more than cheerful small talk. In London, a stranger may help you, but usually with a facial expression of someone pretending this is not technically a social interaction. America plays by another set of rules. Here, friendliness is less like a formal introduction and more like a porch light left on after dark. The surprise grows because these gestures do not feel staged for tourists. They appear in parking lots, grocery stores, train platforms, diners, and long lines outside stadiums. Someone compliments a jersey, someone offers a restaurant tip, someone notices confusion and steps in before the map has been folded the wrong way for the third time. It is ordinary American behavior, but to visitors expecting distance, it can feel almost suspiciously generous. Then there's the scale. European cities often impress through age, detail, and density. America impresses by opening the door and revealing that the room is somehow the size of Texas. Highways stretch beyond the horizon, supermarkets resemble indoor counties, and a small drink sometimes arrives looking ready to hydrate an entire youth soccer team. The excess is funny, but it also communicates something warm. There's room here, there's plenty here, and nobody wants a guest to leave hungry. That may be the part no headline can capture. America is loud, imperfect, emotional, and wonderfully open. It argues with itself in public, then holds the door for a stranger 5 seconds later. It waves the flag without waiting for permission, serves portions with the confidence of a Thanksgiving aunt, and treats hospitality like a reflex rather than a performance. So when European visitors say, "We have never seen anything like this before," they are not only talking about size, they are talking about a country that feels more welcoming, more generous, and more alive than the version they were sold from far away. After a few weeks, going home may still be necessary. Wanting to leave becomes another matter entirely. That is how a tournament visit quietly becomes a love letter nobody expected to write. Bigger than Wembley, Europe invented some of football's grandest rituals, but America looked at the word stadium and apparently decided it should come with its own zip code. That is where the next wave of disbelief begins. Visitors arriving for the 2026 World Cup are not simply entering sports venues. They are walking into structures built on a scale that feels almost unreasonable until the crowd arrives and somehow fills every seat. The United States has several stadiums holding more than 100,000 people, including Michigan Stadium with an official capacity of 107,601. By comparison, Wembley Stadium in London holds 90,000, while Paris's Stade de France seats roughly 80,000.
It's mad in here, so tradition. Absolutely fantastic.
The difference is not merely numerical. European stadiums often sit inside dense urban neighborhoods, shaped by limited land, older street plans, and generations of football history. American venues frequently rise beside highways, enormous parking fields, entertainment districts, restaurants, hotels, and tailgating areas that begin working hours before kickoff. The event is not contained by four walls. It spills outward like Thanksgiving dinner at a family home where nobody knows how many cousins are coming, so the solution is simply to prepare for everyone. That helps explain why the experience becomes so addictive. In many European cities, attending a match means moving efficiently from a train station to a compact stadium district. In the United States, the journey can feel like entering a temporary city created for one enormous shared emotion. Parking lots become kitchens, music stages, meeting points, and unofficial living rooms. Pickup trucks unfold into barbecue stations. Folding chairs appear with a precision of military equipment. Someone who arrived as a stranger can be holding a paper plate and discussing the starting lineup 10 minutes later. For visitors raised on the idea that American sports are overly commercial or lacking tradition, this creates an uncomfortable problem for the old narrative. The atmosphere is not empty spectacle. It is community performed at full volume. Americans do not merely attend major events, they build an entire day around them, then invite everyone nearby into the celebration. The infrastructure also reflects a country accustomed to moving huge numbers of people. MetLife Stadium in New Jersey holds more than 82,000 spectators, while AT&T Stadium in Texas has a standard capacity near 80,000 and can expand for major events. These buildings were designed for enormous crowds, television production, hospitality, security, food service, and the controlled chaos of people trying to remember where they parked. That final task may be America's unofficial endurance sport. What catches European visitors off guard is not simply that the stadiums are large, it is the confidence behind them. America expects the crowd to come, expects the celebration to grow, and builds enough room for both. After experiencing that energy during the World Cup, returning to a quieter match day can feel less like going home and more like turning the volume down while the best part of the song is still playing. America has room. A football ticket may bring visitors to America, but the open road is often what convinces them to stay a little longer. Once the match ends and the city lights disappear in the rearview mirror, the United States reveals something European travel rarely prepares people for: space that seems to have escaped all supervision. The highway keeps running, the sky grows wider, and a landscape that looked impressive on a phone screen suddenly becomes large enough to make an entire tour bus fall silent. That reaction is understandable because Europe teaches travelers to measure distance differently. Driving from Brussels to Amsterdam takes roughly 2.5 hours. Paris to Brussels can be covered by high-speed train in around 90 minutes. In many European countries, one morning can include 2 cities, a national border, and enough architectural history to make a tour guide lose their voice. America asks for another kind of patience. Here, a road trip may require 6 hours before the scenery even decides to change outfits. Yet that scale is precisely what becomes addictive. The United States has 63 designated national parks and more than 400 sites managed by the National Park Service. That means a World Cup visit can begin beneath stadium lights and, with a few extra days, continue through Red Rock canyons, giant sequoia forests, desert basins, mountain roads, or coastlines that appear to have been designed for a car commercial with an unreasonable budget. Europe has extraordinary natural beauty, from the Swiss Alps to Norway's fjords and the Scottish Highlands, but its landscapes are often closely connected to villages, rail lines, farms, and centuries-old settlements. American wilderness can feel different because it sometimes removes the evidence of ordinary life almost completely. No church tower rises above the trees, no apartment block waits beyond the hill, and no cafe appears every 20 minutes to rescue anyone from poor planning. The land simply continues. That sense of freedom reaches beyond scenery. American road trip culture turns movement itself into part of the vacation. Gas stations become snack laboratories, roadside diners serve breakfast large enough to require structural engineering, and scenic overlooks invite people to stop without needing a reservation, a dress code, or a carefully timed museum ticket. The country gives travelers permission to wander, which is a dangerous offer to anyone who originally promised to return home immediately after the final. There's also something deeply American in the way these places are shared. National parks belong to the public imagination, not only to photographers, athletes, or wealthy travelers. Families arrive in minivans, retirees tow campers, children collect ranger stamps, and international visitors stand beside Americans looking equally small beneath the same cliff. That equality of scale may be the real attraction. A canyon does not care where anyone came from, while a mountain has never requested proof of social status. For many Europeans, America becomes more appealing the farther they travel beyond the stadium. The country stops feeling like a destination arranged for tourists and begins to feel like an invitation to breathe differently. After days spent beneath huge skies and along roads with no visible ending, returning home can feel strangely compressed, as though someone quietly reduced the world while they were away. America keeps its cool. There's a moment during an American summer when European visitors stop discussing architecture, football, and travel plans, because a pair of automatic doors opens and delivers the most convincing welcome speech in the country: cold air. After walking through the heat outside a World Cup venue, entering an American hotel, restaurant, supermarket, or airport can feel like crossing an invisible border into another climate zone. The change is immediate enough to reset your personality. 5 seconds earlier, everyone was tired and slightly irritated. Now they're standing beneath an air vent with the peaceful expression of people who have just received excellent medical news. That reaction reveals far more than a preference for cool rooms. Air conditioning in the United States is part of a larger promise that public life should remain comfortable even when the weather has other ideas. But according to the US Energy Information Administration, nearly 90% of American households used air conditioning in 2020, and roughly 2/3 relied on central systems. Cooling is therefore woven into daily routines, building design, shopping habits, workplace expectations, and the basic American belief that July should not be allowed to win. Across Europe, the relationship with summer heat developed differently. Homes in London, Paris, Berlin, and Amsterdam were often built long before modern cooling became common, while milder historic climates reduced the pressure to install it widely. Many hotels, apartments, cafes, and public buildings still depend on open windows, fans, shutters, or the ancient European technique of pretending the room will become cooler after sunset. That approach can feel charming during a gentle evening in Copenhagen. During a major summer tournament, however, charm begins sweating through its shirt. America's cooling culture becomes strangely addictive because it removes a layer of effort from the day. Visitors do not need to plan lunch around the coolest hour, choose a cafe by the direction of its windows, or lie awake studying the rotational speed of a bedside fan. The country treats temperature control like running water. Once people enter a building, comfort is expected to begin working immediately. Critics sometimes joke that American interiors are cold enough to preserve Thanksgiving leftovers until Christmas, and they are not entirely wrong. A supermarket dairy aisle can turn shorts into a personal regret, while movie theaters occasionally require the kind of light jacket normally associated with Scottish springtime. Yet even that excess has an oddly generous message behind it. America would rather give you too much cool air than watch a guest melt beside the soda machine. This is also why the experience stays in people's memories after they leave. Comfort becomes invisible very quickly, then painfully visible when it disappears. Back in a warm European apartment, the same traveler who once laughed at America's powerful air vents may suddenly remember them with the tenderness usually reserved for an old friend. The surprise was never simply that American buildings were cold. It was discovering a country that had looked at summer, installed several million machines, and calmly informed the weather that it would no longer be making decisions indoors. The return miracle. Nothing prepares a European visitor for the calm confidence of an American customer walking back into a store with a receipt, a half-open box, and absolutely no fear of being interrogated. In many parts of Europe, returning an item can feel like presenting evidence before a small commercial court. The product must be untouched, the packaging should appear emotionally undisturbed, and the receipt needs to survive the journey in better condition than the customer. In the United States, however, a return counter often feels less like a negotiation and more like a reset button. That difference becomes fascinating because it reveals how strongly American retail culture values trust, speed, and customer choice. Major chains commonly offer return windows of 30, 60, or 90 days, while some membership-based retailers have built entire reputations around unusually generous policies. The National Retail Federation estimated that American consumers returned about 14.5% of merchandise sales in 2023, representing roughly $743 billion in goods. That is not a minor side activity hidden behind the stockroom. Returns are a full-scale part of how the American shopping system works. Europe also protects the consumers well, especially for online purchases. European Union rules generally give buyers 14 days to withdraw from many distance sale contracts without providing a reason. Yet in physical stores, change-of-mind returns often depend more heavily on each retailer's own policy. Walk into a shop in Paris, Rome, or Madrid after deciding that a purchase no longer suits you, and the conversation may become considerably more formal than it would at a suburban Target. America takes a different view. The sale is not always treated as the final scene. It is closer to a first date between the customer and the product, with both sides allowed to admit that the chemistry was never really there. That freedom becomes oddly addictive. Visitors begin buying with less hesitation because one wrong size, one disappointing kitchen gadget, or one lamp that suddenly looks like a witness protection device inside the hotel room does not become a permanent life decision. The policy quietly removes anxiety from shopping, which makes stores feel easier to explore and customers more willing to try unfamiliar brands. There's also a deeper cultural message hiding behind the counter. American businesses often compete by reducing friction. The customer's time matters, inconvenience is treated as a problem worth solving, and loyalty is earned by making the unpleasant part painless. A refund completed in 2 minutes can create more goodwill than 10 glossy advertisements showing a family laughing beside a new washing machine. Naturally, generous systems can be abused, and retailers spend heavily on fraud prevention. Yet the basic principle remains impressively American. Make the experience simple enough that ordinary customers feel trusted before they have done anything to earn suspicion. For many World Cup visitors, this is the kind of detail that stays with them after the stadium lights fade. They may arrive expecting American shopping to be loud, excessive, and aggressively commercial. Instead, they discover something more attractive beneath the scale, a system repeatedly asking how life can be made easier. Once someone has returned the wrong shoes without completing paperwork worthy of a mortgage application, shopping back home may suddenly feel strangely serious. America did not merely sell them a product. It sold them the beautiful possibility of changing their mind. America never stops. At first, the drive-thru looks almost too simple to deserve attention. A car rolls forward, a voice comes through a speaker, food appears through a window, and nobody has to search for parking, unfold a stroller, wake a sleeping child, or carry 3 drinks across a crowded dining room. Then visitors use it once and realize America has quietly removed an entire chapter of inconvenience from everyday life. That is where the fascination begins. Drive-thru service in the United States is far larger than a fast food habit. Industry research has repeatedly estimated that drive-thru lanes generate most sales for many major quick-service chains, with the share often reaching around 2/3 or more. The reason is not difficult to understand. American suburbs are spread out, daily schedules are packed, and the car often functions as a moving office, family room, storage cabinet, and emergency snack shelter. A service window built beside the road fits that reality with almost suspicious perfection. In central Paris, Rome, Amsterdam, or Barcelona, the same idea would face an immediate meeting with narrow streets, historic buildings, limited curb space, and several determined cyclists. European cities were largely shaped before the automobile became the center of daily movement, so convenience developed around walkable neighborhoods, corner bakeries, rail stations, and compact cafes. America grew outward during the age of highways and suburbs, which produced a different question. Why make people leave the vehicle when the entire service can come to them? The result feels wonderfully practical. Coffee arrives without turning a short stop into a small expedition. Parents can collect dinner while children remain buckled in. Travelers can grab breakfast without unloading luggage that is somehow multiplied overnight. Even pharmacies, banks, dry cleaners, and some grocery businesses have adopted drive-thru or curbside models because American convenience rarely sees a finished idea without asking whether it could move 15 feet closer to the parking lot. That habit can become strangely addictive because it respects something people rarely notice until it is wasted: momentum. Once the day is moving, nobody wants to interrupt it for 20 minutes merely to buy a sandwich. The American system understands this almost emotionally. It keeps the wheels turning, the air conditioning running, and the schedule intact. There is humor in the scale, of course. A European visitor may initially laugh at the thought of collecting a donut without leaving the driver's seat, then discover 3 days later that walking inside now feels like unnecessary paperwork. Convenience changes standards quickly. Yesterday, the drive-thru seemed excessive. Today, a closed lane feels like a personal betrayal. Beneath the novelty lies a very American form of hospitality. The customer is not asked to prove effort before receiving service. Comfort is brought closer, waiting is shortened, and ordinary life is treated as something worth making easier. That attitude may explain why visitors remember these small systems as strongly as famous landmarks. A monument impresses people for an afternoon, but a country that saves them 10 minutes every morning begins to feel dangerously livable. After several weeks, returning to a city where coffee requires parking, walking, ordering, waiting, and carrying everything back can feel oddly ceremonial. America has already shown the alternative, and once convenience becomes this smooth, going backward feels like putting a toll booth in the kitchen. The free everything. Some countries hide their best public spaces behind grand doors, formal silence, and the faint feeling that your backpack is being judged. America takes a different approach. It puts a library beside the grocery store, gives everyone a card, adds free internet, community classes, children's programs, meeting rooms, and sometimes enough technology to make the building look like a small startup with unusually patient employees. For many European visitors, this is where the phrase, "we have never seen anything like this before," starts sounding less like travel excitement and more like a serious review of public life. The United States has more than 17,000 public library outlets, according to data collected by the Institute of Museum and Library Services. That enormous network matters because the American library is rarely treated as a room built only for books. It often works as a neighborhood living room, study hall, job center, technology desk, language classroom, cooling space, and quiet shelter from a day that has become too expensive, too hot, or simply too noisy. That range can feel surprising even to visitors from countries with proud library traditions. Helsinki's Udi Library is rightly celebrated for its modern design and public facilities, while major institutions in Paris, London, and Berlin remain cultural treasures. The American difference is not that Europe lacks excellent libraries. It is the casual way so many American communities spread useful services across ordinary towns, suburbs, and city neighborhoods without requiring anyone to behave as though they have entered a royal archive. Walk in wearing shorts after a World Cup match, and nobody checks whether you have read Hemingway recently. You can charge a phone, use Wi-Fi, print a document, cool down, find local information, or simply sit without being expected to buy a coffee every 40 minutes. In a country often described from abroad as relentlessly commercial, that can be a wonderful contradiction. Some of the most useful rooms in America ask for no purchase at all. The deeper appeal lies in the dignity of the system. A public library assumes that access to knowledge, technology, and a safe indoor space should not depend entirely on the size of someone's wallet. Many branches lend far more than novels, including tablets, mobile hotspots, tools, musical instruments, and passes to local museums, depending on the community. Librarians also help people complete job applications, research family history, learn computer skills, or navigate government websites that occasionally appear to have been designed by a committee trapped in 2004. That generosity becomes addictive because it changes how a city feels. A visitor no longer sees public space as somewhere to move through quickly or pay to remain. There's a place to pause, ask questions, regroup, and belong temporarily without explaining why. America is famous for building things on a grand scale, yet this may be one of its quieter achievements. Thousands of doors open each morning with the same simple message: come inside, stay a while, and use what you need. After discovering that kind of welcome, returning to a city where every chair seems attached to a receipt can feel surprisingly lonely. They came for the World Cup, but they left carrying something far more lasting: a new respect for the everyday America rarely shown on television. From open roads and cool buildings to public libraries, easy returns, and drive-through convenience, every small detail revealed a country built to make life feel bigger, freer, and easier. Which American experience would surprise you most? Share your answer below, subscribe to the channel, and join us as we uncover more reasons people keep missing America.